We're capping off the first 100-day week with our morning briefing. How does everybody feel? You like the morning briefings? Okay, we do too. That's why we're doing them. It's good to see all of you. I brought a friend out here today who is happy to take your questions. But first, some remarks. At 11 o'clock, President Trump will participate in a National Day of Prayer event where he will invite Americans of all faiths across the country to join him in asking for God's continued blessings over our great country. During the event, the president will sign an executive order establishing a Religious Liberty Commission. Later today, President Trump will travel to the University of Alabama to deliver a commencement address to the graduating class of 2025. Last night, we saw yet again why President Trump is our deal maker in chief. We secured a historic agreement to establish the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This is a first-of-its-kind economic partnership for the reconstruction and long-term economic success of Ukraine that the United States will greatly benefit from. This partnership represents the United States taking an economic stake in securing a free, peaceful, and sovereign future for Ukraine.
Trump campaigned on that to bring peace between these two nations, Ukraine and Russia. And by signing this deal is enormous and it's monumental because it's going to benefit America. Remember, promises made, promises kept, peace through strength. Keep in mind, guys, promises are the fundamental parts of human interactions and relationships. They are the commitment we make to ourselves and others, and they carry with them an expectation of trust and liability. When we keep our promises, we build stronger relationships, establish our integrity, and contribute to a sense of community and mutual respect. Conversely, when promises are broken, it can be led to disappointment, betrayal, and weakening of trust. The promise here is peace through strength, and that's what Trump exhibits, peace through strength by signing that deal with Ukraine. Remember, whenever you make promises, it's all about integrity and trust. Now, integrity is the cornerstone of trust. When individuals or organizations consistently keep their promises, they demonstrate integrity and reliability. This in turn fosters trust, which is essential for a meaningful and lasting relationship. Trust is built over time and through repeated actions that confirms one's reliability. It is fragile and can be damaged by broken promises. Promises made, promises kept is the principle that underscores the importance of integrity, trust, and reliability. By making realistic commitments, communicating clearly, just like Trump always do, and following through on our promises, we can strengthen relationships, build trust, and contribute to a positive and successful and respectful community. Keeping promises is not always easy, but the reward of doing so are immeasurable, both personally and professionally.
This partnership establishes a fund that will receive 50% of royalties, license fees, and other similar payments from natural resource projects in Ukraine. President Trump has been clear from the beginning. He wants the killing in this brutal war to end. This agreement shows how invested the president is in securing a truly lasting peace. To mark President Trump's triumphant first 100 days in office, we've detailed all week how President Trump has been hard at work delivering on the promises he made to the American people. And yesterday, the president once again showcased why he is the most transparent and accessible president in American history when he held his fourth open press cabinet meeting. Every cabinet secretary went into great detail, explaining how their respective agencies are making life better for American families and businesses. And then the president allowed all of you to ask questions on anything you wanted afterwards. One of the main reasons President Trump won nearly 80 million votes, swept all 7 battleground states, and received a resounding mandate from the American public is because of the contrast he presented during the campaign and continues to this day. Everything President Trump's agenda is grounded in one thing: common sense.
Now, we live in today's modern society where sense is not common anymore. It used to be, but for some apparent reason it's not. We live in la la land and fantasy world. Now, living with common sense means understanding the importance of promises and the impact they have on our lives. It is about recognizing the values and trust and integrity in all our interactions. Common sense tells us that keeping our word is not just a matter of personal honor, but the necessity for building a reliable and harmonious society. It guides us to make commitment judicially, communicate openly, and strive to fulfill our promises, knowing that our actions have far-reaching consequences. Ultimately, common sense is the wisdom that governs our behavior and ensure that we contribute positively in the community and the relationships we hold dearly. And it's so apparent with the liberals when they don't use common sense. What do? They get angry, they get mad, they lash out at you, they start breaking stuff and start riots, and the list goes on and on and on. Why? Because these people don't have no common sense.
While the Democrat Party went off the deep end and doubled down on pure craziness, President Trump pledged to restore common sense back to the United States of America. In a little more than 3 months, that's exactly what he's done. He recognized that America is a sovereign nation that cannot survive if it does not protect its territorial borders. So he secured the border in record time and ended the mass invasion of tens of millions of illegal aliens into our homeland. The president knows his top responsibility is ensuring the safety of the American people, which is why he's arresting violent illegal alien invaders in our communities who threaten our public safety. And it's unacceptable to President Trump to allow rampant waste, fraud, and abuse of Americans' precious tax dollars, which is why the president championed a historic DOGE effort that saved nearly $200 billion already. President Trump knows America is blessed with an abundance of liquid gold below our feet in the form of fossil fuels. So he ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy and is restoring American energy dominance to lower costs and strengthen our national security. President Trump believes Americans should be free to drive whatever car they want, so he ended Joe Biden's disastrous EV mandate and promoted true consumer choice. President Trump stood up for the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality before the law, so he terminated radical DEI preferencing and federal contracting and directed federal agencies to relentlessly combat private sector discrimination. DEI seeks to divide and pit Americans against each other based on immutable characteristics. President Trump put an end to it. In President Trump's America, individual dignity, hard work, and excellence are the only things that will determine if you get ahead. President Trump is a proud free speech champion, which is why he ended Joe Biden's trampling of free speech rights and the federal government's censorship of American speech on online platforms.
This is huge, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, they were trying to censor us, take our freedom of speech rights. They were doing everything they can to try to shut us up. Why? Because we were telling the truth and saying no to their ideologies and their fantasy world. A male wanting to be a female and a female wanting to be a male, or you want to be a cat or a dog. Every lie, they call it cheap fakes, disinformation, misinformation. I mean, they did everything in their power to try to take away our free speech, to the point where they would deplatform you, demonetize you, and worse, get you fired from your job, only because you were bold enough to tell the truth and let them know that they were living in fantasy and la-la land. And I'm glad Trump made it so he can change this nonsense.
The president believes college students have a right to speak their minds and go to school safely. Again, common sense. So he took bold action to protect Jewish American students from harassment by pro-Hamas radicals on their campuses. And President Trump knows that America's children are our future, and he'll never stop fighting for them. That's why he ended the radical, un-American indoctrination of children by eliminating support for divisive, radical gender ideology and equity ideology, and why the president protected parents' fundamental rights. And lastly, the president believes in fundamental biology. Isn't that something? Which is why he made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two sexes, male and female.
Folks, God created male and female only, and the liberals are attempting to undo what God created. No one can make straight what God made crooked or bent, and no one can make something that is crooked or bent straight when God made it straight. Your plans will fail miserably when you go against God Almighty. There's only two genders, male or female, and they call that hate speech when we mention the truth. Scientifically proven that male cannot just transform and be a female, or a female cannot transform to be a male. It is unproven, and men cannot have kids.
And because men and women are biologically different, President Trump ended the unfair, demeaning practice of forcing women to compete against men in sports and having their private spaces invaded. When President Trump promised a complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense, he meant it. And over the next 100 days, get ready for historic trade deals, budget deals, and peace deals.
Trump campaigned on this. The liberal media, the left, the Democrats, they're never going to report this. They're never going to show you the truth. And that is why it's people like us on these platforms to be able to let the people know and the world know that, hey, this is what Trump accomplished, and these are the promises that he made, and these are the promises that he fulfilled. They are trying everything in their power, the corporate media and the liberals, to try to find something wrong with Trump, and they cannot. So what they revert to? Lies, smears and lies, and shelter the truth, his accomplishments. But we're here to be able to expose it and to be able to broadcast his accomplishment, the promise that he made, and the promise that he fulfilled.